fascinated by the phases of the moon. And as I got older and I started diving more into the history and the practices and what energetically and physically it can mean in our bodies, I've developed a personal practice for myself that I am now sharing with you through the magic of the technology that we live in today. But for many years, I would lead full moon and new moon circles in my yoga studio space or in other spaces. Full moon is about releasing and letting shit go. And so our physical movement practice follows a similar pattern as a yoga practice, but there's always going to be a little bit of joint health and mobility thrown in, and because it's me, there's always going to be something quirky thrown in. Ultimately, I am here as your guide. Your body is your teacher, encouraging you to find places where you perhaps can dance along the edges of your comfort zone. Never kickbox it down, at least not in this practice. Invite yourself to explore the expansive space that you can occupy, and let's get started. Find your way onto a comfortable seated space. For me, it's sitting cross-legged, but I will have a dominant side that wants to come in front, so I make sure I switch it, especially for the full moon where we're letting go of perhaps patterns that are no longer serving a purpose. And begin by placing your right hand over your heart, left hand over your belly button with a gentle inward gaze down. And as we start to rock a little forward and back using our breath to guide the movement, inviting you to set the intention of releasing any negative habits, destructive habits, or maybe just wasteful habits that are no longer serving a purpose. Or maybe releasing any emotional experiences that are still hanging on. And because today we are in a full moon with Libra, Libra is about balance. And if you're struggling with finding balance in your life, use tonight as an opportunity to realign with your soul's desires, with your values, with your mission, your purpose, and of course, your heart. Releasing the hands to your knees and start to explore movement. Gently, just a little sway, moving through the ribs, staying connected, grounded through the hips, your glutes, and your legs. Allowing the inhale to help shape our movement. Explore relaxing your neck and your shoulders. And as I said, the full moon is definitely about releasing and letting go, which includes any sort of worries or doubt about what is correct in your movement, what is the perfect pose. Today it's about shifting our perception. Now start to release the left arm up overhead and then sway, dance it over to the left with the right arm overhead. Finding this rhythm that is uniquely yours, perhaps going lower and perhaps not. Keeping both of your sit bones grounded and rooted to the earth. The last one over to the left. And release the arms behind. Shift the hips. Bring your feet together. And of course, rocking a little bit on your bum, left to right. But then start to free yourself from a traditional holding pose and tapping into a bit of a flow, whether it's side to side, whether it's up and over, or maybe it's just bouncing your knees. Listen to your body and just explore how the movement can help you break patterns. There's something to be said for knowing your routine, but when it rules your life versus you ruling it, well, that's a different discussion. So from here, dance your way up and taking the legs out to the side, wherever feels comfortable. Give yourself that little wiggle, because I'm all about the wiggles. And from the wiggling, we create a wave. Sliding your hands along your thighs and your shins towards your toes. Each one explore going a little deeper. Letting go of limitations. Letting this flow of movement wash away some of those limitations that are in your mind, because you are tuning into your body. Forward fold wherever your body lets you go. And then wave it up. Inhale, let your heart lead into this forward fold. And exhale, rounding back up. Last one, slide and release it forward. Wave your way up. And lean back, bringing the legs forward. Reach up to the sky. Exhale, twist to the right, staying tall through the spine. Feel the length all the way up through the crown of your head. And then exhale, release, reach back up to the sky. And you can modify this any way you need by keeping it smaller, going deeper. If you want to bend a knee to have a little bit more of an anchor, that's fine. Feel the inhale lengthening all the way up through, beyond the crown of your head. And then exhale, release. Bring those knees up and out to the side. Now, if you are a full-bodied human like I am, I've got stuff. Create space. This is not about compacting and making yourself feel a little barfy. This is about expansion and space. So, wherever your feet and knees need to be to allow for more flow in the spine, more rhythm, please find that space. Inhale, rise up, bring those hands to your knees and gently guide them to the right. So the knees stay bent, moving into our hips. We rock forward and back into your hip. And then lift up both knees. You can use your hands to support over to the left. Ooh, rocking into this hip. This hip is my tender hip, thanks to a car accident. But we find the place where we can wave in and out of the limitations. Thinking about the waves of the ocean crashing into the beach, slowly changing the landscape of the sand. And sometimes, yeah, I know, waves crash right in and destroy everything. But this one, it's that easing in and out. And let's come back all the way over to the right without the hands. Look, Ma, no hands. Look, Moon, no hands. Bring those knees back over to the left. And whatever dance, whatever movement your body feels, let's go ahead and bring it back over to the right. And then last one, over to the left. Come back through center. From this center, we're going to start allowing the volume of the full moon to magnify our movements. So you can always stay with that first option, but let's explore dropping the knees, getting onto the shins and lifting up. And release it back. And we switch over to the left. Shins stay down, knees stay down, rising up and release. And we can even add an extension up to the sky, possibly even a little bit of a back bend. And we release, pushing back over to the left, drop down, press up, and rise up. And then last one, we just kind of flip, roll, find a way to make our way into table. Knees underneath the hips, wrists underneath the shoulders. Find a way to just let your body move. Forward, down, up and back. That whole movement rippling through the spine. You can even soften the elbows, shifting back, exploring, moving forward through the hips into a back bend or arching. And take the next few breaths to really play. Full moon time for me has always been a little wild and wacky, so that's when the play comes out. Tapping into the wild soul. Exploring anything that feels right for you. And slowly bring your knees back in line with your hips. Bring the hips slightly forward to take the left leg back. Anchoring through that back heel, pushing back. Stretching out those calves. We don't do enough calf stretching in my humble opinion, so this is a great chance to explore movement that we sometimes neglect. Now create more space, taking those left toes, bring them up to the side, line up the heel with your right knee, and we shift the hips forward and back. Not huge, like we're not trying to come all the way back here. And if this is too tender, move it back. What we're not doing is jacking one hip higher than the other, trying to level out and keeping our back nice and flat. And because this is about the full moon practice, how about we reach up, left hand to heart. Inhale, reach up to the sky. Creating that extended twist, but open across the heart space. And then exhale, let it go and sweep across, taking that left hand through the right side. And bring it back. Bring, slide, walk, shimmy, wiggle the left foot forward. So now we're in a low lunge, vinyasa. And create a pulse. The beautiful thing about pulsations, we can use it to tap into our heart rate, the rhythm of our breath, and something deeper, perhaps more primal. Now start to create waves, circling the hips around and back, forward. And it's not just forward and back. I'm just going to change angles here so you can see. I am moving my hips around, back, and across. Now next time my hips pull back, I'm going to stay there and find the pulse. Now the pulse could be simply rocking on the heel. The pulse could be through my spine. What I'm not doing is bringing my hips all the way to my heels. I'm in fact trying to keep my hips somewhere close to over my bent knee. You can be on your knuckles, your fingertips. Where is the flow for you? And then we slowly walk our hands forward, tuck the back toe, lift up the back knee, and we pulse. You can always stay on the back knee. And remember, tapping into the movement that's accessible for you. And then using the strength of our core and the power of our hands, our front foot is going to pull back just enough to get onto the left knee. So that now our right leg is facing back. And we go back into this calf stretch. And I'm going to switch angles so you can continue to see the movement on this side. Keeping your back flat. This is not a chance to dip the belly or round the spine. Not yet. And then let's go ahead. Push back as far as you can. And then bring those toes out to the side, anchoring the heel down in line with your left knee. Forward and back shift. Pushing into your palms. Moving your whole body, not just the hips up and down. That's a totally different exercise. Not that I'm judging. In fact, those are sometimes fun exercises. And now pause, bring the right hand to center. Is there anything you want the moon to get rid of for you? Well, just metaphorically, of course, or maybe not. Bring it, take it out of your heart space. Whatever you don't need, reach it up to the sky. Give it to Mama Luna and let her shine a light on it. Exhale, sweep that right hand through the space, past the left wrist. And then inhale, bring it back. Now that right foot walks, shimmies, slides, wobbles, stomps to the front. So now we're in this low lunge and we're trying to get as low through our hips as we can. Now sometimes this knee buckles to the side. I often reach around and hold on to it just at the beginning to remind it what the alignment should feel like or could feel like. And think about pressing the hips down. And now adding that circle, pulling the hips not only back, but to the side, around. Ooh, you can feel this in your hamstring. And now it's my left hip flexor that says hello. Sometimes other words. And forward, and around, and back. Inhaling forward, exhale, pull that pulsation back. Next one forward, we pause long enough to draw back. And the pulsation can be through just anchoring the heel down, moving the toes. Now this leg is definitely not as flexible as the other side. This is my tender leg, so sometimes I like to take my hand and just give it a little extra love. Letting me pay attention to where I feel the pull, the lengthening, the expansion. Inhale, come forward. Tuck the back toe, lift up the back knee. And it's this pulsation again, keeping the back leg as straight as you can. And we're flat back, we're long spine. And instead of pulling the front leg back, we're going to power off the back foot and we're going to step it forward, dropping into Anjaneyasana, not Anjaneyasana, Malasana. We're dropping into lunge. We're dropping into Malasana, yogic squat. And then forward fold. Lift up the hips, round up, and we
kind of pulse, wave the spine up and down to slowly come up into a standing. All the way up. And start to move your hips left to right. Allowing movement to flow all the way down the hips, through the knees, into the ankles. Adding your own flair with your arms if you want. Speeding it up, slowing it down. Now we're going to evolve this movement to have this little rotation actually take place through slightly lowered our legs. So make sure you feel stable with the feet wider than the hips. And my right toes are going to push to the ground, lifting up my right heel, turn, and a little lean. Bring it back. Left, lift up the heel, externally rotate your thigh, point the knee to the side, bring it back. So I'm constantly changing where the weight of my body is. External, bring it in. Right, good news or bad news? Left side. Bring it in, tick-tock the hips left to right as you forward fold, coming down. Whoop. Make sure you don't fall backwards. And then slowly, steadily, tick-tock the hips back up. And reach up to the sky, back to hip circles this time. Soften the knees. Find where your body can wave it out through the ankles, knees, and hips. And yes, all the way up the spine. And step it a little wider. If at any point you need to fix your pants, please do so, because I do. I'm human. I've got yoga pants that don't stay put. They're not painted on. Tick-tock the hips left to right here. And we're going to start adding a little more funkiness. Right foot points to the right, bend into the knee. And this is playing with traditional yoga poses with just a little funk, because it is the full moon, right? So now, right now it's my knee leading. Now it's my hip leading. Knees, hips, knees, and hips. Now I can add both, or just like, Mel, what the hell are you doing? Stay in your warrior two position with your legs, Virabhadrasana. Now, add a little flow, little shimmy shake, moving that energy through the spine. And rise up, straighten the leg, but don't lock the knee. We're going to slide your right hand down your thigh, stacking the shoulders. And take a moment to tap into whatever triangle pose, Trikonasa, means for you. Make sure you're not forward folding. We're trying to essentially pretend like we're stuck between two panes of glass. If you're claustrophobic, that's not a good visualization. I recognize that, but at least it gives you an idea of the alignment we're looking for. Inhale, left hand up and over, and sway it forward. Bring the hands to the ground, tick-tock your hips. And then bend into the knees. Come about halfway so your ribs are close to thigh height. And little dance, shake. Make your way up. And add a little bounce, shimmy, shake. Anything else to get rid of patterns. And left toes to the left. Bend into the knee. It's your knee or your hips or both. your arms. Your arms will find something to do, even if you're doing one of these, like, okay. If you've got a playlist going, kind of explore what this might feel like. Versus the hips, versus the knee. Then anchor, root down into this strength through the heels. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. But then add this little movement through the ribs. You can just do a little wiggle or add a reach and extension. You could dance it a little more. You could sink it a little lower. Notice how that knee is staying basically over my heel to support structure. And let's rise up. Straighten the leg, but don't lock that knee. Slide your left hand down for Trikonasa, stacking the shoulders. Whoop. And when I do these weird noises like whoop, it's probably because I'm trying not to fall over. And that just makes me human. You could look to the floor, you could look forward, up to the sky, and sweep the right hand forward and all the way down. And dance it left to right. Let's get bigger. And make our way up. And step it in. Get the feet and knees as close as your body lets you, adding a little bit of a sway. So exploring kind of the range of motion that your knees are capable of. And then left heel lifts up. Bring that left heel above the right ankle. Add a little sass. And then activate those inner thighs. Bring those hips to balance neutral. And then explore bringing your left foot towards your right calf. And full moon in Libra means a little bit of balance. If our minds are super distracted, these single leg balances are really, really challenging. But if we can focus, we can channel this amazing power of ours of intention and awareness. Now release those left toes, bring it around behind, and just a little tilt. And again, check in with your knees. Where's the limit? Where's the rotation? And then just keeping the hips forward, a little pulse in this kind of a curtsy lunge. And then step, and we switch. Right heel above the left ankle. Adding this little sass, this little hip bounce, but there's a purpose behind it. It's noticing how the inner thighs work together to create this isometric contraction. And then squeeze, hips stay balanced. Feel the length all the way up through the crown of your head. And bring your right foot across the left calf. Do whatever you need to with your hands to support the movement. If you want to explore, you can add a little flow with the arms. But remember, full moon is about letting patterns go, so you don't necessarily have to hold stiff. It's letting your body feel alive in this moment, and aliveness, life is movement. And let's take a deep breath, take that right foot, release, bring it behind, hips forward to the side with a little dip. Finding your rhythm and finding your groove in the move. And step and release. Last thing standing before we make our way back to the floor. One of my favorite practices is to tap into this idea of our warrior strength. And for me, it's always, always, always Goddess Artemis. There's something about her mythology that always has me trying to learn more things about her, and therefore learn new things about me. With our feet nice and wide, take your right foot pointed away. Angle the left foot in a little more. Not quite warrior one, not quite warrior two, something in between. So I want you to imagine holding a bow and arrow. If you've done archery, you know what I'm talking about. If not, just follow along. I'm going to take both hands together and I'm going to push my fingers towards my bent knee and sink down. Now my right hand is going to stay and I'm going to hold a fist tight. And I'm going to take a look forward. I'm going to pull back with the left arm like I'm taking aim. And release the arrow. Inhale, sweep and reach. And pull back. And notice I'm pushing through my leg as well. Adding a little extra oomph. And I release. Pull forward and back. Last one. Pull back. And release. Toes forward, reach up to the sky. Exhale, hands to your heart, forward, fold it down. Relaxing your head, relaxing your spine, relaxing your shoulders. Take your hands towards your legs, slowly massage and support. Bend into the knees and then flow up. Wave your spine all the way up. Left toes to the left. Same thing. Now this bow and arrow, for this side, I want us to think about what are we releasing? What are we letting go? What do you want to push out into the world because it's not yours anymore? Bending into that knee, take your right hand and left hand all the way, point the same direction as your left knee, and then exhale. Pull back with the right arm and release, let it go. Now I'm watching this hand so that you can see where I'm going, but if I'm trying to release, I want to watch it. It's taking action and surrendering the outcome. Inhale, sweep, and pull back. Take aim, let go. Inhale, and exhale it back. Last one. Bring it in. And straight legs. Bring the toes back to pivot. Tick-tock the hips. And we're going to go down to the ground, but we're going to go down in a very fluid way. And I say fluid with a little touch of sarcasm because your range of motion is not going to be the same as mine and vice versa. So I want us to lean into the right knee. Lift up and over to the left. So right now I'm going up and over. And I'm releasing the arms a little. I'm adding some free flow here. You could go back. Now that's forward. How's back? There we go. This is backwards. How bad is it that I couldn't figure out what direction I was going? Now, come to the right and stay. You will modify the direction of your knee and your toes to suit you, but we're going to encourage going down low. If you need a couch, coffee table, yoga block, or the floor, come all the way down into, jokingly, affectionately called surfer's lunge. My back heel can come down. Some people might have a really hard time and their heel comes up. So it's your body. What is it telling you? What is it trying to teach you? Now, instead of coming all the way up, just want us to use our hands. Lift, push into your hands, lift up the hips, walk them over, and sink into our left hip. Coming down. Now I can go tall in this variation, but if you want support, if you're worried about balance, keep your hands on the ground. And from this one, it's going to be an interesting walk because we're going to walk back to the right, except this time we're keeping our right toes pointed that way. So walk over, turn the hips. We're now in a high lunge. Front foot pulls back, our very first downward dog in this practice, I think. Yep. Now, downward dog is often a really tender position for my body. So I've learned to modify. I walk my hands in a little closer. So I get my heels closer to the ground and I walk it. Left heel down, right knee bends. But it doesn't just stop there. I'm going to allow my spine to flow. Just a little movement. And once my hips, my thighs, my hamstrings feel good, I see if I can just move my spine. And then inhale, wave it forward. And bending into the knees, walking the plank. Walk it back up, just briefly. Anchoring my left foot towards midline. Inhale the right leg all the way up, open the hips, bend the knee. You can even say hello with your toes. Look forward between your hands and bring that right knee all the way through and down. Coming into Ekapada Kapotanasana, pigeon pose, eating hair, you know. And just flow it here. Options. Well, you can stay here. You can come down low. You can come all the way down. You could even explore lifting up, not necessarily a back bend, but lifting up. So that's putting more gravity towards this hip flexor. You could explore what a back bend means for you and maybe even play with grabbing your foot. Or not. There's, again, options. One of my favorites, to be honest, is just waving my body left to right, smoothing out the edges, allowing my body to feel its way through the flow. And at some point I'm going to shift my hips to the right, bring my bum down. My right heel stays close, my left leg out to the side. And I still rock forward and back. But then I take my left foot and I'm going to bring it on top of my right knee. But first I'm creating a little bit of space simply because I don't have that flexibility to go into full-on lotus. If you do, have fun. Take that left leg up, ankle on top of the knee. Now we're not bending the ankle. See how my foot is folding in? I want to focus on the ankle and the knee, if that's accessible. And I'm going to gently encourage my left knee down and rock into this. Now this is a very tender pose for me personally, so I'm always reminding myself to be compassionate, to dance in and away from the edges of my comfort zone, like that wave on the beach. And now add an extra layer, bring that foot to the outside of the right knee. Now I have to shift my weight, my bum does not touch the ground, but I'm gonna go for, what does it feel like if I hold onto both ankles? And yeah, that bum cheek is lifted up and I'm kind of leaning. So the goal would be to get this way and the foot down, working on that. And now, if this is your first time practicing yoga with me, watch before you do so that you kind of get a feel for it. Both feet are going to anchor down. Both hands come over to the right. You're going to push into the feet and lift up the hips. And we're going to point the hips towards the camera. a forward fold and saying hello. Walk them over to the left. Pivot the toes, bend the knees, and come down. So you've just switched positions. This one feels a little awkward. This is definitely my tender hip, and it's been a while since I've really done a full yoga practice, not only for myself, but taught a full yoga practice. So this is a beautiful opportunity for me to let go of the patterns that I thought I had and create space for new ones. Slide that right ankle on top of the left knee and rock in and out and support your body. Don't be afraid to check in with a sense of touch on how things feel, how things flow. And let's release that right leg to the side. I'm going to bring that left heel in a bit more. I'm rocking in and out of this one, only for a few because we still have pigeon to do on the left side. But we're not going for downward dog. We are going to let our bodies, and of course for me it means moving my heel further away. I'm going to just walk my hands to the left and let my right thigh rotate inwards to guide the movement. And voila, I'm in pigeon pose on my left leg forward, right leg back. I still tap into flow, I still tap into movement. I can take it down. Remember all the options I showed you on the other side. You really honestly get a chance to explore and play here. Life for the last year has really put us in a holding pattern, hasn't it? And I've learned for myself that holding certain poses no longer feels good because my whole life has felt like it's on hold. My body and my soul are crying out for freedom, for movement. And so through a physical practice, I can at least create some opportunities for that. With a reach back or grabbing your toes. Don't worry about precision tonight. And let's take a deep breath. And we're going to release the hips down, but we're going to slide the legs back and come onto our back all the way. We're going to sway our knees side to side with our feet about hip distance apart, palms up. Nothing touching fingertips. Allowing the length of our ribs and the hips to release. And then to create movement through the spine, bring the feet in line with your hips, knees in line, push into the heels, curl up the spine one vertebrae at a time, and then move the hips in this like hammock swing. Reaching the arms or not. Make your way back down, bring the knees in towards your chest. Now, again, if you are a full-bodied, full moon soul, take the knees wide. There's no need to jam your thighs into your belly, unless that's your thing. Create movement. Listening to the body, your body, one hand on each knee perhaps. Take the knees around and away from each other. Let your head gently roll a little side to side. And release the feet down. Bring your hands out to your side, palms up. Nothing touching fingertips. And then bringing your feet closer together, knees wide. coming into Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana, which is reclined cobbler's pose. You can even give it a little bit of a shimmy so that your body finds its natural state. Relaxing your jaw, softening the space between your eyebrows, and allow any sort of release to take place through a gentle wave of your head rolling side to side on the ground. And then go ahead, you can either stay here with your legs or come into a more traditional Shavasana, which is our resting stage. But if this bothers your back, you can always have a bolster or a cushion, or just keep the knees slightly bent. I often prefer this one. Placing both hands over your heart. Tapping into your breath, tuning into you. Sliding your left hand over your belly button. Breathe into the full expanse of your body and exhale, letting go. One more exhale. Use the hands to guide the knees in, closer to your body again. Just come onto your side. Pick a side and take one arm up over if you want to rest your head. Take the top hand and arm, push down, and we make our way up into seated. Check in for any last wiggles, flows, waves, spirals. And bringing your palms together in prayer and gratitude, in full appreciation of your worthiness. As we move together in full moon under Libra, we found balance by letting go of the heaviness, the stagnant energy, and creating space for expansion. Joining me for a deep inhale, exhale with a big sigh, letting that shit go. Thank you for joining me for this full moon practice.